The Eurovision Song Contest this year was won by Ukraine, which, as we all know, is at war with Russia, with a song called Stefania, which is about mothers. Now, why is this relevant? Well, of course it's relevant. The Eurovision Song Contest is always deeply political. But it did strike me when I was watching that it was particularly interesting given what the Black Moon Lilith is doing in 2022. Now, the Black Moon Lilith, as you know, is a notional mathematical point in the sky. It's not a real object. And she moves like clockwork because it's to do with the positions of the sun and the moon. So she spent, I always think of her in nines. She's in nines, you know. She takes 9 years to get through the zodiac. She spends 9 months in a sign. She spends 9 days in a degree, is that right? Anyway, she's in nines. She does stuff in nines. And this year, she's going to be spending most of the year in Cancer, which is, of course, the sign of motherhood. Cancer is watery, it's the cardinal sign, it's an emotional sign, and it's ruled by the moon. And of course, you can hear it in the name, Black Moon Lilith, right? So in some ways, these are two opposite ways of thinking about motherhood. The beautiful moon that we know, the moon that we see in the sky, and Black Moon Lilith, the hidden moon, the secret moon, the private moon. Who is Lilith? I'll just remind you, Lilith was in the stories. Lilith was the first wife of Adam, who was thrown out of the Garden of Eden, or left the Garden of Eden, depending on who you believe, because she did not want to submit to Adam. And after that, allegedly, she became a baby-eating demon out in the desert. Now, that's the story, and as you know from studying astrology or watching my videos, you have to always question the story. You have to question the mythology about the planets, or in this case, the notional sign. Does it work with the actual astrology? Well, I can tell you that Lilith definitely shows up when we're talking about some very dark things. For example, the loss of children, the inability to have children when you actually want to have children, abortion, miscarriage, the death of a child before the parent. She also turns, and also with, she's associated, I've found, often with relationships that are like three-sided relationships. So people who have affairs, etc., who find themselves in a three-sided affair, three-way affair, or as the other woman, right? Or other man, because I think we shouldn't be too gendered about this as usual. But in this case, I think there is a lot about motherhood, because we're talking about Cancer again, which, for a man is a sign of parenthood of some kind, of having children. So what does it mean when we have this notional point, Black Moon Lilith, in Cancer for such a long time? Well, the first thing that happened when she went in, which was the 14th of April that she went in, and she was leaving Cancer on the 8th of January. So that's how long she's there. And you will be able to see that she goes through regularly. So if you have any planets in Cancer or Capricorn, she's going to be making interesting aspects, or they will be making interesting aspects to this point. What happened was we had the the attempt to slay Roe versus Wade, which is the right to a woman's right to abortion in the United States. And I would say that if there's a goddess of abortion, it's Lilith. And she's come into this place of motherhood. And of course, for the United States, is a Cancerian country. It's born on the 4th of July, right? Which is mid-Cancer. So she will be getting there. She's not there yet, but Lilith is coming to the United States sun. Currently, I'm speaking now at the beginning in mid-May, just after the Scorpio eclipse, which also had something to do with Roe versus Wade, I think. But so currently she's at 3 degrees. She's actually making a conjunction to Ceres, which is another asteroid that we associate with nurturing, nourishing motherhood. Although, again, Ceres is fiercer. Ceres is about protecting your grown-up daughters, okay? So we've got Lilith and Ceres are now working together. So it's interesting that I think for many, many women, one of the reasons that we want abortion rights, that we want to protect those, is in order to protect our daughters from the things that happened to our grandmothers. Now, as has been extremely correctly pointed out, in my opinion, this is not a matter of men versus women at all, because many, many women are on the other side of the fence, are, I think, the fiercest advocates of the fiercest anti-abortion people are female. So it's not like that, okay? However, because we're going to have this Lilith in here for 9 months, I think this story is going to be very big in the press. But there's another big story that we're seeing, which brings me back to Ukraine and the song that won the Eurovision Song Contest, Stefania, which is about, it's by a guy, he loves his mother, right? He says, all the roads lead back to my mother, I love my mother. The video, however, shows mothers in the midst of war with their children, because this is the other side of Lilith, is the fear of losing your child. This is the Lilith fear, the fear of losing the child that's born. Your grown child even. And it's interesting that Lilith and Ceres are working together at the moment. And of course, Ceres is associated with the loss of her child, who she regains, Persephone, and these are both in this sign of motherhood. So it's very powerful stories around mothering, around the loss of children, and maybe the regaining of children as well, and the protection, how fierce we feel about the protecting of our children. That's men and women alike. Now, Lilith is going to be there until, what did I say? The 8th of January. And during that time, she's going to be making some quite interesting aspects. Just really quickly on the 7th of December, she'll be making opposition to Pluto and Capricorn. So that's like a confrontation with the patriarchy, I would suggest. In November and December, she'll be trining Jupiter and Neptune, in which Jupiter by then will be back in Pisces. So this is watery. It's very emotional. There may be stories, there may be scandals, there may be stuff coming out. And in October and September, she will be squaring Chiron, the wound, which is in Aries currently. So I think that, that is, I'm not so keen on that as an aspect, but just note it, an aspect for your diaries. But the thing that I find really interesting, and that I want to mention now, because it's actually coming up in the next couple of months, oh, can you hear that rain? Is this new moon on the 29th of June, which makes an exact conjunction with Lilith and a square to Jupiter in Aries, okay? So that Lilith is a conjunction with the new moon in Cancer. This is the dark of the moon, as I often say. A new moon is not, it's a time of, just after the new moon, you have a time of renewal, right? So something buried in the ground begins to grow. But at the new moon, you bury things because it's the dark. You put it under, and then it comes out. So we have the Black Moon Lilith at the dark of the moon. I think this is quite a powerful, witchy kind of energy that you get around then. And I would suggest it's quite a good time for burying certain things, burying secrets. But also it's interesting that all of these energies, so the moon herself, who rules Cancer, will be making this conjunction with the sun to Lilith. Don't forget that every month the moon, so for the next 9 months, every month the moon will go through Cancer in her own sign. And as when she does that, she'll be making this conjunction to Lilith every time. So these stories will keep on coming back and back and back over and over again. And I think this is a very sort of, I do think this is a powerful feminine energy, a powerful dark feminine energy, and it's the dark goddess. And I think that who knows which sign is the most powerful for Lilith. I wouldn't, I think that she's powerful in different ways in each sign. So, for example, when she's in Taurus, a lot of that, that can be very much more, even more about sexuality. But this is more about the power of the mother, and the power for the mother for good or for bad. And have I said everything I need to say? Oh, yeah. At the same time that she is in Cancer, for the initial few months that she is in Cancer, Ceres is in Cancer too, and Ceres leaves on the 23rd of July. So this is quite a powerful moment when you have, and especially around that new moon, because you're going to have all three of the objects that we associate with motherhood particularly. So that would be Ceres, the moon, and Lilith, all in this sign, Cancer. And you'll notice that that new moon on the 29th of June, that's really close to the United States sun, right? It's only 5 days away. So that's, again, I think this Roe versus Wade argument is going to be, people are really worked up about it, quite rightly so, because it's a very, very important point. Who's in charge? Who's in charge of the children? And one of the things that happens in war, of course, is that children are ripped away from their mothers by the machinery of war. Okay, I want to finish on something more upbeat than talking about a war in Ukraine, though. I think this is really empowering, an empowering transit for parents of all kinds to really dig deep and feel the incredible power that parenting, whether that's actual children or children of the mind, or children that you know or you look after, the power that gives you, the power that you have for good or bad, and this is a period that we're going through of powering or disempowering parenthood. Boom. See you next time.